Kyiv, Ukraine, September 14th, 2025. On Sunday evening, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky delivered one of his most direct warnings yet about Russia's expanding ambitions, calling on NATO allies to take urgent lessons from Ukraine's battle-hardened defences. His remarks, issued in his nightly address from Kyiv, carried both a tone of determination and a strong appeal to international partners who, he said, must prepare for what lies ahead. Standing firm before the cameras, Zelensky emphasised that Russia's strategy goes far beyond Ukraine's borders. The war, now in its gruelling third year, is not simply a clash over territory, he warned, but a testing ground for Moscow's next moves against NATO's eastern flank. The Ukrainian president framed his message with both urgency and resolve. And we are ready to teach all our partners how to defend themselves. Everyone can see that the Russians are exploring how to bring the war to Poland and the Baltic states. The Russian army is also testing Romania. Of course, NATO has Patriot missiles, other systems and powerful fighter jets, but in Ukraine we have much cheaper, more massive and systematic solutions against Russian Shahed and Gerber drones. It is important not to waste time. These words underscored a central theme. Ukraine's experience in countering drone warfare has given it insights and tactics that could prove critical for NATO allies facing potential Russian provocations. For months, Ukrainian forces have been locked in a relentless struggle against waves of Russian drones, cheap, expendable, yet devastating when they slip through air defences. Zelensky argued that Ukraine has, out of necessity, pioneered new cost-effective counter-drone tactics. These innovations, he suggested, could offer NATO countries a vital advantage in protecting their own skies. The president pointed out that while NATO's arsenal includes advanced missile systems like the US-made Patriot and fleets of fighter jets, these tools are often costly and limited in number. Ukraine, in contrast, has had to build dense, layered defences using lower-cost methods to neutralise swarms of Russian drones such as the Iranian-designed Shahed and the Russian-built Gerber. Zelensky's statement conveyed both pride and pragmatism. Ukraine has had to innovate quickly to survive, and those lessons, he insisted, must now be shared with the wider alliance. Time, he cautioned, was running out. The Ukrainian leader's warning came against a backdrop of mounting concern across Eastern Europe. Over recent weeks, incidents involving Russian military activity near Poland, the Baltic states and Romania have stirred fears that Moscow is probing NATO's defences, searching for weak points. By directly naming these countries, Zelensky sought to highlight the pattern of Russian behaviour. His reference to Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia and Romania was not accidental. It was meant to remind Western audiences that the conflict is no longer confined to Ukrainian soil. Everyone can see that the Russians are exploring how to bring the war to Poland and the Baltic states. The Russian army is also testing Romania. With these words, Zelensky placed the burden squarely on NATO capitals to recognise the stakes. The question was no longer whether Russia might challenge NATO, but when and how. Zelensky's remarks also revealed a subtle critique of Western reliance on high-end systems. Patriot batteries, advanced fighter aircraft and integrated air defence networks are powerful, but they are expensive to operate and unsustainable against swarming drone attacks. Ukraine, by contrast, has learned to combine mobile air defences, electronic warfare and rapid response units to neutralise threats at a fraction of the cost. This approach, he said, was not just about saving money, it was about survival. The ability to defend wide territories from saturation drone strikes requires more than elite systems. It requires scale, adaptability and speed. Ukraine's experience, he argued, proves that lower-cost but widely deployed solutions can succeed where traditional doctrines fall short. By offering to share these lessons, Zelensky positioned Ukraine not as a perpetual aid recipient, but as a contributor to collective security. His message was clear: Ukraine can teach NATO how to defend itself in the new era of drone warfare. Perhaps the most striking element of Zelensky's address was the urgency with which he spoke. His warning that it was important not to waste time carried echoes of previous moments when delayed Western action had allowed Russia to escalate. It is important not to waste time. This short but powerful line was directed at policymakers in Washington, Brussels, Berlin and beyond. Zelensky has long argued that hesitation emboldens Moscow, while rapid, decisive support deters it. With Russia now testing the resolve of NATO's neighbours, he suggested There is no margin for delay. The timing of Zelensky's remarks is critical. Just days earlier, Russia had intensified drone attacks across Ukraine, targeting energy infrastructure and military depots. These strikes not only tested Ukraine's resilience, but also sent a signal to NATO countries watching closely. Moreover, tensions have been rising in Poland and the Baltic states, where governments are increasingly vocal about Russian provocations. Military flights near NATO airspace, cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns have added to the sense that Moscow is escalating its hybrid war. Romania, too, has faced growing challenges. In recent months, debris from Russian drones has fallen within its territory, raising alarm about the spillover of the war. For Zelensky, pointing to Romania's experience was a way of reminding allies that they are already feeling the impact. Zelensky's framing of Ukraine as a teacher to its partners was both symbolic and strategic. By saying we are ready to teach, he positioned Ukraine not only as a country in need, but as one offering hard-earned expertise. This rhetorical shift matters. For months, Ukrainian leaders have fought to keep international support flowing, particularly as some Western nations grow weary of the war's costs. By presenting Ukraine as a source of knowledge, an innovator in modern warfare, Zelensky reinforced the idea that Ukraine's struggle benefits the entire alliance. While Zelensky's words carried the most weight, they reflect a broader sentiment within Ukraine's leadership. Advisors and military officials have repeatedly highlighted how Ukraine's improvisation has allowed it to blunt Russia's advantages. They argue that Ukraine's experience is not just a national story, but a global case study in adapting to modern threats. The evening address was therefore not simply a routine update to the Ukrainian people, but a carefully calibrated message aimed at Western capitals. It sought to balance reassurance, Ukraine is holding firm, with warning, others may soon face the same tests. Zelensky's address on September 14th was more than a call for help. It was a call for recognition. The war in Ukraine, he argued, is already shaping the security of NATO's eastern flank. By sharing Ukraine's lessons in counter-drone warfare, allies could prepare themselves for the challenges ahead. His words were blunt but necessary. And we are ready to teach all our partners how to defend themselves. For Ukraine, survival depends on innovation and urgency. For NATO, security may now depend on whether it listens.